Very good evening, everyone. Welcome everyone to this third webinar of ACT grants that we have here. It was the first half of 2021 saw the nation going through its darkest hours, right? As the COVID spread rapidly and disastrously across India. The extent of damage perplexed the experts and severely impacted the nation's medical infrastructure. So it led to an acute shortage of medical oxygen, hospital beds, medicines, and critical supplies. The demand for medical oxygen was the most pressing need during the peak of the pandemic. And oxygen treatment was the most critical intervention for moderate and severely affected COVID-19 patients, while vaccination was the only long-term solution to the crisis. Right? So with the support of hundreds of empathetic donors, passionate volunteers, and strategic partners, we at ACT Grants were able to do our part to help in the crisis. Right? So the support and encouragement by various government administrations helped us scale up our efforts to 500 plus districts across 33 states and union territories. So our response basically to the 2021 COVID crisis was a three-pronged. First was oxygen supply, second was vaccination efforts, and third was the home care part. So immediate priority was to alleviate the crisis due to the lack of medical oxygen by delivering more than 50,000 essential oxygenation equipment such as oxygen concentrators, cylinders, and BiPAP devices. So far, 41,820 oxygen concentrators have been donated, 9,636 cylinders were delivered, 2,318 BiPAPs have been delivered, and 106 PSA plants have been commissioned. So post this work, as we have almost gotten over with the second wave, and though we are not sure whether the third wave is imminent or not, we realize that there is a lot of void in the knowledge as far as usage of equipment is concerned on ground. So towards that goal, we had our first webinar on PSA plants, where I'm sanguine that we were able to clarify many misconceptions, and we were able to allay a number of doubts which were there in the minds of the people regarding the functioning and the problem solving of the PSA plants. So now here we are with our third webinar, which is focused on basically the same initiative, where we want to discuss about the oxygen concentrators, their technicalities, how to use them, how to maintain them, and more importantly, how to use them in both COVID as well as non-COVID scenarios. So we have with us very eminent speakers on our panel today, both experts in their field, with Dr. Ashish Satav of Mahan Trust, having an experience of handling OCs for more than 20 years, and Dr. Saif, a critical care specialist handling the crisis since its onset. So we will have them sharing their insights and talking about their experiences, right? So before we get going, I would just like to lay down a few ground rules for our session, which we have for the next about 1 hour or so. So my first point would be, please do keep your videos on so that it is more engaging for the speaker. Secondly, please mute yourself during the talk so that the speaker is not disturbed. If you have a query, please type in your queries and the experts, I'm sure, will definitely answer them. Else, you can just raise your hand and at the appropriate moment, we would request you for your query and have the expert answer it, right? We will also be sharing a link to a Google feedback form in the text box as well as in your mails. So please do fill it so that we can get a sense of the impact of the webinar and what else we need to work upon to make it more engaging, right? And yes, please do not scribble on the screen during the talk as it distracts everyone, right? So this is generally the schedule which is there in front of you. This is how we are going to run this show. We'll have each of this, Dr. Ashish speaking for 20 minutes and Dr. Saif, we have him for 15 minutes. And we also have a Q&A session which has been added in between them, right? So without much ado, let's move on to our first speaker, that is Dr. Ashish Satav. He's been inspired by Mahatma Gandhi's teachings that youth of the country should serve villages, as that's where the real India resides, right? So he's the head of Mahan Trust, a very well-qualified doctor. and founder of Mahan Trust, along with Dr. Kavita Sato. And both have them have resigned as professors from medical college to serve the impoverished communities. And they started Mahan in 1998, right? So they are providing curative and preventive medical facilities to poor tribal people of Melghat, which is an MP, since the last 23 years. And in spite of all odds, they have raised their son also in Melghat. So that's a lot to say about the couple. They have saved almost 4,000 lives, prevented blindness of almost 27,000 poor people. They have reduced malnutrition, child mortality, you name it, and it is there, right? They have received 67 awards, especially Public Health Champion Award by the WHO, Best Research Project Award by ICMR, felicitation by the President of India, and World Economic Forum. He is the CMO, Dr. Kavita is the eye surgeon. So I'm not sure what all, the list I think continues, and there are no awards which are left for Dr. Ashish to take. And I'm sure it is all due recognition for the good work, for the amazing work which he has been doing. So rather than speaking more about Dr. Ashish, let's hand over to Dr. Ashish to take on this session and enlighten us with your experience, sir. I'm sure the audience is going to love each and every word. They're going to pick each and every word what you speak, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sadbir. So good evening, everybody. I'm Dr. Ashish Sato on behalf of Mahan Trust. The topic is how to use and maintain oxygen concentrators effectively along with their optimal use in COVID and non-COVID scenario. So this is our beautiful forest of Melghat, where our hospital is situated here on the bank of river. A 55 years old male comes to primary health centers with complaints of fever for 8 days, myalgia for 5 days, loss of taste and smell for 3 days, and shortness of breath since yesterday. His vitals are like this. Sorry. Is it visible? Hello? Hello?
Yes, it is visible, sir. It is visible.
Okay. Yeah. And temperature of 101 degree Fahrenheit with pulse rate of 104, respiratory rate 30 per minute, and blood pressure of 110 and 7/70. My question is, what will be the immediate next step? So it will be to measure oxygen saturation. And if the patient has SpO2, is somebody interested? Okay. Okay. Then I'll ask such questions later on. This is just, because of lack of or less time, I'll go through it rapidly. So oxygen SpO2 was 90% at room air. So oxygen supply is needed. So now I'll start with oxygen source. So oxygen concentrators, these are suitable and favorable medical devices. I can assure you, because I am using it since last 20 years. And especially in developing countries like India, where there is scarcity of cylinders or pipe system, especially in rural or tribal areas of India, where still 50% of the people, they live in India. And even if oxygen supply is available at some hospitals or primary health centers, but patients are not getting oxygen, it can be due to missing accessories. There is definitely fear of explosion amongst the medical staff of oxygen cylinders, and there is shortage of trained staff. And hypoxia is the condition which can be easily treated with oxygen, and there is no alternative agent for it. So we need very reliable oxygen supply, which is necessary to take care of seriously ill patients, to improve their survival, to save their lives. And hence, I think oxygen concentrator is the best for it in such situation, because these are the sustainable and cost-effective source of medical oxygen. Oxygen concentrators are the medical device which absorbs air from the environment, which contains around 21% of oxygen. It is passed through molecular sieve beds to concentrate room oxygen to therapeutic levels, and it then delivers continuously a clean and concentrated oxygen. Actually, this oxygen concentrator works on pressure swing adsorption techniques, like PSA plant, they work, and it produces 95.5% of the concentrated oxygen. Oxygen therapy, is necessary to treat hypoxemia, to improve the condition of the patient, to stabilize blood oxygen saturation levels. And one important thing with oxygen concentrator is to have pulse oximeter, because the indication for starting oxygen is very clear. It depends only on what is the level of the SpO2 or oxygen level in the blood. So pulse oximeter helps to identify the patient who is suffering from hypoxemia, and it also helps to monitor oxygen therapy to promote the efficient and safe use of oxygen. So it is important condition. And the life of one oxygen concentrator is usually 5 to 7 years. You won't believe, I have some oxygen concentrators which I am using since last 15 to 16 years. They are still working, and it requires very minimal service and very minimal maintenance. When the atmospheric air is drawn, it is passed through a gross particle and intake filter before moving through a compressor. And the pressurized air, I'll show the diagram also. The pressurized air passes through a heat exchanger to reduce the temperature before entering the sieve beds, and that contains a material called zeolite. Zeolite is a mineral material. So this pressurized air is then passed through a sieve beds, and it contains a mineral. It is called zeolite. And this zeolite, it preferentially absorbs a nitrogen gas at high pressures. And as it is depressurized, again N2 is released, or nitrogen is released. These valves are open to deliver. There are valves in the oxygen concentrator to deliver this concentrated oxygen into, there is one reservoir chamber where it accumulates. And from this, there is a flow meter. This flow meter can be used for measured and continuous release of oxygen to the patient at a very specified flow rate. You can see here, this is oxygen concentrator, and you can see here the entry through this gross particle filter, intake filter, compressor, heat exchanger, this valve assembly, and this is the main, we can say, atma of this oxygen concentrator, this zeolite sieve bed, which absorbs nitrogen. And then equalization, then it goes in the tank, then there is pressure regulator, product filter, and so it goes to the flow meter. And it has alarms also, which plays very important role. There is power switch. I'll show a demo also if time permits, and alarm speaker also on the oxygen concentrator. There are two types of oxygen concentrator. One is stationary oxygen concentrator, another is mobile. Usually all stationary oxygen concentrators also, they have wheels. So they also can be moved, but they are specially allowed to keep near the bed and not to move too frequently. The weight is usually less than 27 kg, and it supplies an economical continuous stream of oxygen at flow rates up to 0.5 to 10 liters per minute. And sometimes there is very low flows are required, which may be delivered via the built-in flow meter or with some additional accessories. And these oxygen concentrators, they usually work on alternating currents of electricity. They usually require 280 to 600 watts. And there are different separate models also, especially for Western countries. They can work on 110 to 120 watts of alternating currents, typically of 60 hertz, and or 220 to 240 watts also, typically with 50 hertz. And it is available as per need, especially in Western countries. There are another types of oxygen concentrator. They are called portable oxygen concentrator, and they have lower output capacity, that is up to 3 liters per minute or less also. And the advantage is that it consumes less power than stationary oxygen concentrator, approximately 40 to 130 watt only. And it can be used by individual patients like ambulatory oxygen systems, and many oxygen concentrators have batteries which operates on direct current also. So especially this such type of oxygen concentrator are useful in cardiac ambulance, or when we want to shift the patients where the oxygen cylinders are not available, like hilly terrain areas of Melghat, where the oxygen plants are 100-150 kilometer here. Such portable OCs can be used. It has low flow, but it is not suitable for simultaneous use by multiple patients. And in case of that stationary first bigger oxygen concentrator, it can be used for 2 or 3 patients also simultaneously when there is crisis of concentrators. And these many portable oxygen concentrators, they have a mechanism. This oxygen delivery is only during inspiration. and it is called pulse dose or intermittent flow, and it conserves the oxygen and it also conserves the battery power. So especially it is useful in ambulances. The advantage of oxygen concentrator is that it has high reliability and low cost compared with oxygen cylinders and piped oxygen supply systems. But there is one disadvantage of oxygen concentrator. It needs regular, although minimal maintenance and a reliable power supply. To mitigate this, we have there should be a good team of managers, technicians, and doctors, so that they can effectively plan it, they can train the staff, they can build the capacity of the staff, and there should be good collaboration among this management, clinicians, and technicians, so that it will give effective implementation, effective service, and produce good oxygen. And for that, timely maintenance of oxygen concentrator is needed. That is, once in 3 months will be the best, but even if you will do maintenance in once in a year, it's okay, it will work. When we compare oxygen cylinders with the concentrators, the differences, like for oxygen cylinder, no power source is required. For oxygen concentrator, it requires continuous source of electricity or battery. And for oxygen cylinders, one has to regularly send cylinders for refilling. So it requires regular transport, which is heavy and costly to transport, especially for rural areas or for tribal areas for refilling. While for oxygen concentrator, only during time of installation, transportation is required. There is no need to refill at all throughout the life of 7 years. And oxygen cylinders has exhaustible supply. It depends on the size, storage pressure, and patient's need. But for oxygen concentrator, there is no exhaustion. It will supply continuously as long as power remains uninterrupted. The initial cost of oxygen cylinder is moderate. Oxygen concentrator is at higher side, but that is one-time cost. Operational cost is very high for cylinders, refilling, transport from the refilling station to hospital, while the maintenance or operational cost is very less for oxygen concentrators. It requires minimal electricity and minimal maintenance. Oxygen concentrator user care is minimal, regular checking is needed, while for oxygen concentrators, some moderate type like cleaning of filters and device exterior, which can be done in-house also. No need of technicians or engineers to come and do this usual care. From fire safety point of view, oxygen cylinders are little bit more risky as compared to oxygen concentrators. As cylinders there are more chances of explosions, etc., which is not there with oxygen concentrator, or you can say it is very minimal. So this is, I think, the greatest advantage in addition to refilling. For maintenance, like for oxygen cylinders, we have to check for pressure leaks with gauge, and it is moderate. It requires check of for low oxygen output with analyzer. And cost per 1,000 liters of what is the oxygen, for concentrators, it requires just 150 to 600 rupees for 1,000 liters of oxygen, while for cylinders, one has to pay 750 to 2,250 rupees. And during COVID, we can say crisis, one has to pay 3,400 rupees like that, which becomes very costly, which is not an issue with oxygen concentrator. So these oxygen concentrators, they delivers 82 to 96% of pure oxygen with continuous flow. And there is one build, as I told you, flow meter with flow rate control. And one important thing, there must be alarm. If the oxygen concentrator is producing less than 82% of volume fraction of oxygen, if there is no flow, there is high or low pressure, low battery or power failure, high temperature, then this alarm must give signs so that you can stop, change the concentrator, start using another concentrator. And actually you can adjust the minimum oxygen concentrator or maximum, and the best service will receive at 40 degree up to 40 degrees centigrade with 95% relative humidity and atmospheric pressure representing an altitude of 2,000 meters above the sea level. And these oxygen concentrators, they are capable of generating at least 55 kPa of oxygen at all flows. There is time meter also, which records the cumulative hours of device operation. This is very important because what we have experienced, Most of the oxygen concentrator manufacturers, they advise you can run the concentrator for 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours. But our experience is that if you run it for 8 to 10 hours, then give some break, use another oxygen, then it gives the maximum good concentration of oxygen. So this time meter definitely plays very important role. This and there is gross particle filters as shown in the diagram. It prevents dust and grime from entering the enclosure and air inlet. But one has to frequently clean it. Like once a week is the best time to clean these filters, which can be done in-house. No much expert is needed for that. And this oxygen concentrator, the limit is that they should not produce more than 50 decibels of noise when operating. If the noise is much more, it indicates that there is some problem in the oxygen concentrator, and then it requires maintenance. And most of the oxygen concentrator, as per WHO guidelines, they should be power efficient, so that they should consume less than 70 watts per liter of oxygen per minute. Okay, and it must comply with the ISO standard. It is the condition as set by WHO. And this all oxygen concentrators, they have outlets which has 1/4 inch barb fittings, which is very important for direct attachment of oxygen tubing. It should be, and this oxygen tubing should be kink resistant and kink free with standard connectors to give the maximum results. And in many of the oxygen concentrators, there are attachments for the nebulizers, so that the same oxygen concentrator can be used for nebulization of the patient who requires like drugs like acetylene or steroids like that. So this is second advantage. One important mechanism is humidification. Usually it is advisable that in many of the conditions, humidification is not needed. But if you require high flow of oxygen, if it is more than 2 liters per minute, or if the oxygen bypass the nose, such as when nasopharyngeal catheters are there or tracheal tubes are used, especially in children, then humidification is needed. And these humidified bottles, they are connected between the oxygen concentrators and the patient breathing circuit, like in oxygen cylinders. And one very important precautions, very important tip is that one must use distilled water in the bottles. You might have heard about fungal infections. There are a lot of cases of fungal infections during COVID cases, because it was thought that it is probably of the water which was used for humidification in oxygen concentrators or in oxygen cylinders. If it is plain drinking water, potable water, then chances of fungus growth is more. But we are using this distilled water since last 20 years, and we have not came across, we have used it in thousands of patients. Literally, we used to give 40 liters, 45 liters of oxygen through this oxygen concentrator for critical COVID patients in our hospital, but not a single patient developed fungal infections. So this distilled water is very important, and this bottle must be changed regularly. After use of, for every patient, it should be changed. The distilled water should be changed. The bottle can be cleaned to prevent contamination, and the flow to the patient must be checked at whenever you change the concentrator or there is some problem in the humidifier. You must check the flow at every patient, because there is chance of oxygen leaks during change. There are another important precaution for fire safety and hazard precautions are there, like whenever there is some damage to the electric or sudden increase in voltage, there is chance of damage. So you should one should use the fire break connectors to stop the oxygen flow in the event of fire. It is there. It is inbuilt in good quality of oxygen concentrator, which is very important. And you can, whenever there is you don't want to use this oxygen concentrator, just switch off it. There is tendency in some hospitals to keep it on, which is very risky. There are two causes. Because when the concentrator is not in use, and if you are keep it in on mode, then there is chance that the connector which is connected to the nose of patient, it may be the catheters or prongs, they may come in contact with the bed sheets or blankets, and then there is chance of transmission of infection from the bed sheets to the connectors, or you can say nasal catheters or nasal prongs, and that can transmit infection to the patient. So it is very important from infection control point of view, and from fire hazards also, because if the concentrator is turned on and the oxygen the bed will become inflammable, And even if there is some flame is there, then there will be fire. So it should be always in off mode. Second, it should be kept always away from spark producing or flame producers from the oxygen concentrators like cigarettes, candles, lanterns, portable heaters, stoves, etc. And it should also be kept away from the oil, grease, or petroleum based products. Then these oxygen concentrators must be kept on the flat surface to prevent the inadvertent rolling or damage to the compressor, because once compressor is the main part of the oxygen concentrator. If it is damaged, then you have to send it to the company or call the engineer, which is difficult and costly affair. If you'll take that precaution, then probably the chance of damage to compressor is very less. There are some precautions which one should take while during installation of the oxygen concentrators, like you must check whether there is signs of external or internal damage during transit, because you will not get it replaced urgently and your patient may suffer. Then second, don't keep the oxygen concentrator in very confined area. There should be at least 30 centimeters space from all sides of the oxygen concentrator. Some material should not obstruct the oxygen concentrator, because it takes oxygen from the environment, so that if there will be obstruction, it will not be able to get pure or oxygen from the environment. So it requires to ensure adequate airflow to the device, and for it actually liberate little bit heat, not much more. For that, free flow of air is very important. You should not keep that oxygen concentrators in the direct sunlight. You should keep it from all potential fire hazards, including curtains, drapes, hot air registers, heaters, and fireplaces. And one must record the number of hours on the hour meter, which is there inbuilt in the oxygen concentrators. And you must verify whether the electrical plug is compatible with your sockets or not. Because nowadays, during COVID crisis, we import a lot of oxygen concentrator from Western countries, and the electrical plugs are not suitable for our setup. So one must verify all specified alarms, including power failure, battery alarms, whether they are operational or not, because this is very important. Otherwise, if there is failure of alarms, you may think air is coming from the tubings or the nasal prongs, but it may not give pure oxygen. So this is most important thing. Then training of staff is important. It is not very critical. So they should be able to identify when and which patients require oxygen. It should be very judiciously used to prevent misuse. One should be able to give appropriate amount of oxygen in the correct manner according to the clinical oxygen therapy guidelines. In this oxygen concentrators, there is valve. You can turn. You can start from 0.1 liter to up to 10 liter per minute of oxygen as per need of the patient. So one should determine what is the proper, how it should be used properly, whether it should be used for one person or multiple person. Your staff should be trained for it. Then they must be trained for day-to-day user maintenance, which is not very costly or not very difficult. How to take care of the equipments. They should be able to check that the oxygen flow through the nasal prongs with a bubble test. This is important test, which before putting this oxygen, any patient on oxygen concentrator, we must do this bubble test. I'll show the diagram. To monitor this oxygen therapy, pulse oximeter is very important, because one has to adjust the oxygen according to the SpO2 level with the help of pulse oximeter. For bubble test, we can quickly check for gross leaks in the oxygen concentrators or connections to the patients. You can, like here, you can dip these tubings or nasal prongs in a beaker of water. And if there is no leak, then you can see the bubbles coming out very nicely. If there is some leak, the number of bubbles may be less, or there may not be any bubbles at all. So this is very important to understand whether there is some leakage or not, or the oxygen is flowing through the nasal prongs or not. Then if it is not flowing, then you should check all the connections, all the delivery connections. Okay? But important thing is that this bubble test is not to know the purity of oxygen. This is only to know the flow rate, whether it is flowing properly or not. For oxygen purity verification, there are oxygen monitors or oxygen analyzers. And one indirect evidence is your SpO2. If your patient is responding properly, if the patient has hypoxemia in the beginning, after starting oxygen concentrator, if he's responding, his SpO2 is increasing, that indicates that your oxygen concentrator is working properly. Then one important thing is about cleaning and decontamination. Cleaning and decontamination is, ideally it should be done as per manufacturer's recommendations and as per standard clinical practice, but one should learn how to correctly remove, wash, dry and replace the gross particle filter of the oxygen concentrator. It is at the back. If I'll get time, I'll show the demonstration also. It is on the back. It should be removed properly. It can be, this filter can be cleaned with a mild detergent. Though some manufacturers say should not be washed, but it is our experience that washing with mild detergents is very helpful. Then you can rinse it with clean water, then dry, keep it in sunlight, that is best, and then replace it. And after proper cleaning, one can use this gross particle filter. There is no harm, but after proper cleaning. If suppose the environment is very dusty or dirty, then more frequent cleaning is needed, at least twice a week, or you can do it daily also if there is dust storm like that. And if there is degradation of the filter, if it is gross degradation, then you should replace that filters. Otherwise, it will not work properly. Second, this exterior of oxygen concentrator, it should also be clean, because you are directly giving oxygen in the nose and respiratory tract of patients. So during cleaning, you should disconnect the concentrator from the power supply, wipe as per manufacturer's instruction. Our usual experience is that you can easily clean with mild detergents or cleaning agent, allow the solution to remain on the surface for at least 10 minutes and then rinse off and dry. It is very safe. It won't harm your oxygen concentrator at all. There is one important precaution for cleaning and disinfection of nasal prongs. Like you can clean with soap and water, because in countries like India, especially in rural areas, you cannot afford. Ideally in Western countries, it is said that you should frequently, after every patient, you should change nasal prong, but it is not possible in rural and tribal part of India. So you can easily clean with soap and water. The soaking should be done in dilute bleach solution, and then it should be rinsed in clean water, dry in room air. To make very effective the cleaning solution, you can mix the undiluted bleach from 5% to 5.25% sodium hypochlorite solution. It should be mixed with water in a ratio between 1:100 and 1:10. And I can assure you that regular cleaning will not cause transmission of infection, because after using it for more than 1,000 patients, I can assure you it will not transmit the infection. And this humidifier, it is in this distilled water bottle. This distilled water must be replaced if possible daily, or even if you replace it weekly, it won't matter. And ideally, it should be replaced between patients. Once you remove the distilled water from the humidifier bottle, this bottle should be soaked in dilute bleach for 15 minutes. It should be done weekly, and again in between the patients, and it can be dried up later on. This is a filter, gross filter. One can easily remove from the back of oxygen concentrator. Some special precautions, as I am again stressing on that, use of distilled water to prevent fungal infections. Okay. And regular cleaning of tubing, glass containers and filter is very important. It is, otherwise oxygen will be a slow poison, because you know mucormycosis. There was epidemic of mucormycosis in our area in Nagpur and other part of Maharashtra and India, because these precautions were not followed, and neither for oxygen cylinders nor for concentrators. If you follow it, the chances of mucormycosis is very less. To make it more efficient, these are some of the tips. Give some rest to oxygen concentrator after every 8 to 12 hours. So even if you have small hospital, it's better to keep 2 oxygen concentrators to give maximum results. And don't use it beyond its capacity, because it may compromise FiO2 and oxygen purity. Like if you're using it after 10 years, 15 years, there is chance. We are using it definitely because we are monitoring it very strictly, but one has to be very careful, and always use this concentrator with stabilizers, because if there's frequent fluctuations in the electricity or voltage, then it can damage your oxygen concentrator. Then other than oxygen, if time permits, I'll speak on other issues also, like how to measure oxygen saturation, which is very important, fifth vital sign with oxygen pulse oximeter. Okay, pulse oximeter of two types. They are portable pulse oximeters and there are stationary like with multi-parameters, which are seen in intensive care units. There are chances of errors while measuring the SpO2. Like any machines, it can give very bad results also. So it should be measured. Oxygen saturation should be measured very carefully with pulse oximeter. Like the correct way, keep the finger straight. Possibly keep it dry. The finger should be dry. There should not be oil on the fingertips. The light, there are lights on the. Sadbir, whenever required, you just you can inform me. I can stop my talk. Huh?
Right, sir. I don't want to ask you to stop because it's so engaging and so much of experience that you're sharing. But I'm sure Dr. Saif, if he's okay, I hope he does not have a hard stop at 5:30. I think Dr. Saif, okay with you? If
Yes, fine.
yeah. So maybe another 5 minutes we can wind up,
No issue.
Dr. Ashish.
Yeah, thank you. So fingers should be straight. This is the incorrect way. Like in many times, patients just fold their fingers, or sisters or doctors are not that careful. They keep in improper fashion, like you can see here. Then here the there is flexion of the fingers, or they are not kept in supine position. Then it will give wrong results. And these waveforms are very important. This is normal signal of the pulse oximeter. If the perfusion is low, then it will show like this, little bit straight. If there is noise artifacts, it will show like this waveform. Motion artifact will show like this. So normal oxygen saturation is around 95 to 100%. And if the SpO2 is less than 95%, low oxygen. If it is less than 90%, then it is abnormally low oxygen, or it is called hypoxemia. The indications for oxygen concentrators or any medical condition which require oxygen are mainly hypoxic conditions like lung diseases, pneumonia, especially COVID-19 pneumonias, or influenza, or swine flu-like thing, tuberculosis, extensive tuberculosis, chronic obstructive airway disease with acute exacerbations, acute asthmatic attacks, huge pleural effusions, pulmonary fibrosis, big pneumothorax, or any sorts of respiratory failure. It can be heart disease like acute myocardial infarction leading to cardiac failure, congestive cardiac failure, and pulmonary edema, or circulatory shock can produce hypoxia. Then brain or nervous system diseases like active seizures or convulsions, especially this status epilepticus, stroke, hypoglycemia, or comatose patient can present with hypoxia, or other conditions like severe anemia, polytrauma in road traffic accident, snake bites, especially crate and cobra bites are very common, very notorious to call respiratory muscle failure and hypoxia, insecticide poisoning like especially OP poisoning, anaphylaxis due to any drugs, or sepsis also can cause hypoxia. Oxygen is really life-saving and critical for treatment of hypoxia, as the conditions I have mentioned. Proper supply of oxygen can reduce burden of maternal, newborn, child mortality as well as mortality due to pneumonia. Like pneumonia usually in 2013, as per survey, pneumonia killed more than 935,000 children. And in COVID also, lack of oxygen has killed lakhs of people all over the world. And pediatric deaths, they are more prone for hypoxia. It has increased the cost of care also. So one must assure to keep the availability of oxygen to improve the health outcome, improve the survival. And when to give oxygen therapy? Usually if it is less than 95%, but our experience is that even if you can wait up to 92%, then it won't matter if there is crisis of oxygen. But it should not be given to all dyspneic patients with normal oxygen.
So can I request, to wind up? I'm sure there is so much that you have to share. I'm sure 22 years cannot be, I think, condensed in just about, say, 20 minutes or half an hour. But yes, I wanted to stop you after 20 minutes. I personally could not stop you because it's so engaging, so much of things to share. But yes, with your permission, we would like to share your presentation with the entire audience because there is so much to take away from there, right? So I think we'll take a pause here with Dr. Ashish, and I think we will not have questions as of now, but because I think he shared most of the experiences which he has, we just need to maybe take away whatever has been told. So we will move on to our next speaker, which I am sure will be equally engaging, equally full of knowledge. That is Dr. Saif, right? So we have Dr. Saif Khan, who's our next speaker. He's an associate professor of critical care medicine in the Department of Critical Care Medicine at Rajendra Institute of Medical Sciences, Ranchi. He has completed his DM in critical care medicine from the Tata Memorial Hospital in Mumbai. And amongst the many other achievements, he has got the first prize in the poster presentation at Delhi ISACON 2011, third prize in poster presentation at Bangalore Obstetric Congress. He's organized 7 local CME and 5 web CMEs. And he's a member of the expert core committee designing courses in COVID-19 critical care with MOHFW India. So, you know, we are in safe hands when I'm talking about Dr. Saif also. I'm sure he's got so much to say. He not only has 9 years of teaching and research experience in critical care medicine, he also has 30 publications, including 5 book chapters, and has given 50 lectures in various conferences, right? So his areas of interest are improving the critical care quality, affordable critical care at resource, limited settings, use of ultrasound in critical care management, smart mechanical ventilation, interventions and procedures. So the list goes on. And I wish we had more time with Dr. Saif also.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the extensive and elaborated introduction. And I am very grateful to organizers, and I'm also grateful to Dr. Sanjay from TRIF, and here I am. So already introduced, and I'm going to speak for very less time. I'm not going to take much time because already has been spoken so much on this topic by the previous speaker, and from here onwards I'm going to take. So my slides are visible to all of you, Mr. Sabir?
Yes, Dr. Saif. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And am I loud and clear?
Yes.
Very loud and clear. Very loud.
Okay. Thank you so much. And one small request to all the participants that please turn off your videos and please mute yourself so that other people would not get disturbed during my my talk is going on. Okay. So good evening again to all of you. Today my topic is very simple, but an important part of the discussion today. We all are aware of the fact that the oxygen concentrators provide a safe delivery of oxygen enriched air. Besides, they are cheapest and the most consistent source of oxygen, as already has been delineated by the previous speaker. So what I'm going to talk today is very simple in under these heads: the clinical indications, evidence पे थोड़ी बात करेंगे हम लोग, थोड़े से advantages पे बात करेंगे, limitations, and then complications. Okay. So there are various clinical indications of this device. Since long time, this device is in the market and has been used in the developing countries, in the tribal areas, rural areas extensively. So the cost is the issue, but if you compare the cost of the oxygen concentrator and the cylinders after a long run, then definitely the concentrator would win the race. So at the places where the usual source of oxygen is not available or not sufficient, like a battlefield, you can see in this picture, even the battlefield have oxygen concentrator because it is very difficult to carry heavy oxygen cylinders many times, and as a backup supply also oxygen concentrators are available, okay, at battlefield. So this is one indication. Then everybody has witnessed COVID-19 where the oxygen supplies fell short and hospital had to place stickers on and boards outside the premises of their hospital expressing their inability to admit any patient due to lack of oxygen in their hospital, and many patients even died. You must have seen everything on televisions and news media everywhere. That was the worst time we all had to face. So since long time, oxygen concentrators have been in use in small hospitals or unit as a backup supply, as I said, and it is also a usual source of oxygen. Okay. One more indication is that during the transport, if you want to transport a patient from a distant facility to somewhere, okay, but if the transport duration is short, just about 4 to 5 hours, then you can do that with the help of oxygen concentrator. So in Malaysia, during COVID-19 times, oxygen concentrator have been used during transport of patient on mechanical ventilator in ambulances. They used a simple setup, needed only a turbine-driven ventilator. So this was the ventilator they used, and two oxygen concentrator. As you can see in this picture, two concentrators have been connected with a three-way stopcock with the ventilator. This is a transport ventilator, a low flow device, and also the oxygen concentrator which are connected. And with this setup, they could be able to transport many patients, about 200 patients they transport according to this article. Okay, this was very successful arrangement. So stationary oxygen concentrators are available. They are commonly used by the patient on long-term oxygen therapy for decades, as they are cost-effective and they are safer than using the compressed gas cylinder, which have more fire hazards problem. Okay, of the Japanese, in Japan, home oxygen patients is used in about 94% of the patients by the concentrator. So concentrators is used at home in Japan by about 94% of the patient who are on long-term oxygen therapy. So this is very important figure compared to India, where we use just about 10% or more, not more than that. Now, home oxygen therapy may be of various types. So there are types, there are 4 types. Long-term oxygen therapy, as I said, if the patient is requiring for more than 15 hours daily of oxygen, then this patient should be given oxygen concentrator. Or ambulatory oxygen therapy, which is in about last 10 years in use. These are the small portable devices which are battery operated and can be worn by the patient. I will talk about this later. Then nocturnal oxygen therapy is also described as the home oxygen, where the oxygen is administered only during night, as in obese patient or the patient who have obstructive sleep apnea problem. Okay, in night usually, so they are being given oxygen only during night. Then the patient who require oxygen of short burst, that is called short burst oxygen. Only intermittent oxygen is required during the activity only. And palliative oxygen therapy is also one more type of oxygen therapy is described, where at the end of life, when the patient is suffering with the terminal disease which cannot be cured, but if the patient is looking breathless, you can send the patient to home with this kind of concentrator, so that the patient will not die of breathlessness at least. So we will talk about the long-term oxygen therapy, in which oxygen concentrators can be used. So in patients with COPD, the patient who have very bad COPD and which cannot be treated, okay, cannot be cured, such patient can be sent home on the oxygen concentrator. Then the severe interstitial lung disease, where most of the lung parenchyma is damaged, or the patient with the bad cystic fibrosis which cannot be cured, can also be the candidate for long-term oxygen therapy. And then pulmonary hypertension patient, severe pulmonary hypertension also can be one more indication. Then the patient who have advanced cardiac failure, okay, who are awaiting for the cardiac transplant, that those patients also can be managed at home with the oxygen concentrator. And also you must be aware the COVID period now over. Now post-COVID period is going on, where many patients have bad lung capacity. They are not able to maintain the saturation on their own, and those patients can be also very well managed on oxygen concentrator at home. Okay, so for ambulatory patient who love to spend time outside home actively, are considered for portable oxygen concentrator, which are just 4 kg weight and easy to carry on backpack. They run on lithium ion battery, as you can see on this figure. And the patient who are on these kind of backpack portable oxygen concentrator, they can lead nearly normal life, active life. So now, after having completed the various clinical indications, now we will talk about little bit of evidence. What evidence do we have? So evidence arising from both prospective and retrospective trials and randomized controlled trial suggests that oxygen concentrator can improve the survival rate, especially in the patients who have prolonged and chronic respiratory conditions, or even the oxygen concentrator improve the mental alertness and increases stamina and improves the mood in patients who are suffering with chronic hypoxemia. Now, after having understood the indications and we have talked about that evidence, now we will talk about the advantages. Okay, so advantages over oxygen cylinder compared to any source, oxygen concentrator do not need to be refilled. Okay, so as already very well described and very well spoken by previous speaker, these devices are very reliable until unless you have very good power source. The concentrators run on electrical power and thus supply an unlimited amount of oxygen. Portable concentrators can be used, as I already finished my previous slide, that they can be used on the go mode with a battery backup, resulting in about 12 hours of continuous use in some models. So now the technology is improving day by day, and now we have the concentrator which can be on the go use for about more than 12 hours, and they are lightweight. From a long-term view, concentrators are more cost-effective than compressed gas cylinder, and they are known to last for up to 1500 hours of continuous use. So they are very sturdy devices which can give you long-term oxygen continuous flow. There are large oxygen concentrators which may be using the solar panels. So this is the picture from one part in the Africa, South Africa, I think, where these concentrators have been combined to give the supply to the small hospital unit at a village. Okay, and there was no oxygen cylinder at all, but whole hospital is running on the So I'm sure in many tribal areas in our country also are having the oxygen concentrators, but not as big as these hospitals in South Africa. I don't know, but probably we are also using. Despite various advantages, do not forget the limitations where it won't work and should not be used. Like if you do not have the consistent power source, this is the significant disadvantage. But again, if you have a portable alternative source of energy, like as I said, the power, solar power, okay, or if you have a inverter or generator setup, then you can probably use the oxygen concentrator. Patients using a stationary oxygen concentrator need to consider changing filters weekly, and regular servicing is required. There is a lot of noise and vibration in the previous models, not in, I think in the last decade, this problem has been solved already. But if you have the old one, then probably you have to change to the newer one, which is noise free. Now, last and not the least, the biggest limitation of such devices is the inability to provide the higher flow. So in oxygen, oxygen concentrator may not be able to provide the flow beyond 10 liter. Okay, so if the patient is very breathless and require higher flow of oxygen, probably you have to switch to the alternative source of oxygen. Now we will talk about the complications. Okay, this is the last part of my presentation. So if you give the oxygen by any source more than 50%, like usually we breathe in 21% of oxygen, isn't it? But when our lungs are not good, or our heart is not good, or we have organ dysfunction, we require higher oxygen. But if the consistently we are kept on higher percentage of oxygen, say more than 50%, then we develop this problem, the lung collapse. Okay, and that is otherwise known as absorption atelectasis. Then probably our all cells will be distressed in this lot of oxidative stress and will damage themselves. So there will be a lot of oxygen free radical formation and injury inside all the organs almost. Then this is very important. Oxygen excess can cause the vasoconstriction, especially in the cerebral circulation. So if you inhale the oxygen for longer time and your saturation is always 100%, in health we do not have the saturation 100% all the time. We have sometimes 90%. Sometimes when we are running, we may have just 85% saturation. When we are sleeping, we may have 95% saturation. We don't have 100% of saturation all the time in our body. So if we are artificially maintaining the saturation more than 95% to 100%, then our brain will not respond well. So the arteries in the brain will shrink, and that can cause problem in the long run. High concentration is also bad for the patient who are having COPD. In COPD patient, there may be loss of respiratory drive, that is drive to breathe, and that can cause the worsening of hypercapnia. उन पेशेंट्स में कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड की जो मात्रा है वो धीरे धीरे बढ़ने लग जाएगी. And that is why we say we have to keep the FiO2 to less than required. Saturation is our target saturation should be between 88 to 92%. That's all. Do not aim for the higher saturation more than 92% in COPD patients. Now this is the problem, as already has been covered by the previous speaker, that you should have fire hazard stickers in the places where oxygen sources are used, especially the oxygen concentrator. You should avoid smoking. What precautions will you practice when you are using the oxygen concentrator? Your ambient air should be as fresh as possible. The oxygen concentrator will not be able to perform well after certain time when your surroundings are close to one. Okay, that's why you should have a very good ventilated room. It should be no smoking zone. It should be infectious hazard free. Okay, so for such thing you have to use the HEPA filters. If you have well and good. If you don't have, you have to depend on the fresh air supply, ventilation. So HEPA filters are actually recommended. Keep a backup of oxygen cylinder always, because oxygen concentrator is a machine, is a power, is based on the power, electrical power. It may fail anytime. Any component, anything inside the circuit may malfunction. It can stop automatically. So you have to have a backup of oxygen cylinder. Keep an alternate source of electricity like generator or inverter, or if you have a solar panel, that will be the best. It requires a regular maintenance by yourself. You have to read the manual very carefully, and you have to do the maintenance yourself most of the time. So in summary, I can say that oxygen concentrator provide the cheapest and the most consistent source of oxygen in health facilities where power supplies are reliable. To implement and sustain the oxygen concentrator requires the strengthening of health system. So we need more clinicians, we need more awareness, we need more training for our staff to use the oxygen concentrators efficiently and judiciously, because as we know that oxygen is the therapy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saif, for the wonderful talk. I think you also maybe kept a note of the time and tried to maybe condense it within the time frame. So I'm sure you also had a lot to cover. But yeah, in case somebody has a question, maybe.
No, there are various questions in the chat box also, I can see.
Yeah, please then take them on in case you can.
So somebody asked a very valid, this is a probably suggestion rather than caution. Kavita Ajit Rao. So she asked that it is a good information for medical and paramedical staff. I have found that in many forest land, many poor people have no electricity and they can't use these oxygen concentrators. That's true. So any new innovations can be accepted if a small oxygen refill cylinder attached to this device can be attached to it, so that even power cutoff, hamper dysfunction will be used in dire emergency. So this innovation, I think this idea has already been incorporated in oxygen concentrator. There are bigger oxygen concentrator which can actually work as a refill stations. Okay, so you can have your small oxygen cylinders refill regularly when the power is there, and when there are power outages, then you can use the oxygen cylinders which are refilled by this device. So that's available actually, but they are costly one.
Yeah, we also aware about, Dr. Saif, that there are solar panels which have been installed on the ambulances to provide continuous source of electricity. So those kind of modifications have also come in to maybe power on these oxygen concentrators.
Yeah, that's great.
So any other questions?
Sadhbir, I want to give one suggestion. Like in ambulances also, we can keep extra battery which can charge the oxygen concentrators, and it is easily possible to run on those batteries the oxygen vans, especially cardiac ambulances. It is also possible.
Wonderful. Right. Valid suggestion, sir. So, anybody else? Any questions in case you want to add, or then we will. Otherwise, we'll wind up for today. So I don't foresee. I think they were so self-explanatory, both the talks, that I don't foresee any questions coming. So maybe just before I wrap up, I just maybe summarize a few points. So I was so engaged with what Dr. Sathav was speaking, so much valuable experiences that he was bringing on the table. So, so the few points which I could just recount and maybe repeat for the larger audiences. One, he talked about that the alarm has to be masked, right? Whenever the pressure falls below 82%, that alarm is very important. Intermittent rest to the OC. These are all things which he's spoken about with his experience, right? So he's been using it. So intermittent rest is important. Use of distilled water in the bottles. He says he has not faced any fungal infection in the past 22 years. So we will have to believe him when he says that. And I think he's got a lot of logic when he says that. So next point was, he's also talked about switching it off when it is not required. So I think it's a very, very valid suggestion. And what are the problems which can happen if the machine is switched off? That all also he elaborated. I think they are very relevant and makes a lot of sense. The gross particle filter, how to clean that, and what is the importance of cleaning it. So very aptly covered, sir. Lastly, I would say the point about the cleaning of the nasal prongs. I think a very valid point, sir. I think this is the source of infection, and you have actually spoken what is actually relevant on ground, especially pertaining in the context of our country. All very relevant points. I think I could take away. There are so many points, but these are the few which I could, for the sake of repetition, I wanted to bring it for the entire audience. And coming on to Dr. Saif, again, a very relevant topic as far as today's concern is there. COVID will come, COVID will go. Tomorrow, the third wave will happen. It may not happen, but the oxygen concentrators are here to stay. We may not have been using it very frequently before COVID, but now with COVID happening, I think everybody knows what is an oxygen concentrator, what is a BiPAP, what is a PSA machine. So I think they are here to stay. And we also need to know how we can use them. So very relevant points, very relevant ideas which Dr. Saif brought out. One is, I love the idea of the pairing of two OCs in an ambulance. So wonderful. I think we need to take that up and maybe do some modifications there so that we can adapt it to our Indian conditions. Second is the home oxygen therapy, which he said the Japanese it is 94% prevalent in Japan, whereas it is just about 10% in India. I think we need a lot to catch up, and once that happens, I think it will be great. And about the portable OCs, then he talked about that, and then use of OCs for supplying oxygen to the hospitals. So clubbing all the OCs and then taking their output to the oxygen beds, and those are wonderful ideas. I think we've got a lot of positive to take away from this webinar. I'm sure the way I am feeling enlightened and I am feeling knowledgeable today, I'm sure everyone here would have loved every bit and piece of what was spoken and shared here. We will try and share all the material that we've got from both the speakers with their permission, of course.
Mr.
We will love to.
Can I interrupt you for a while?
Yes, please, Dr.
Yeah,
Saif,
I think Dr. Sanjay, if he wants to say something, promptly. Dr. Sanjay,
yes.
So,
first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Saif because at the shortest notice and just on a WhatsApp chat, he agreed because we had been working earlier. And thank you, Dr. Saif, for coming back after your hectic tour for your some conferences, and then getting ready for this, preparing this PPT was great job. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I thought Colonel Salim forgot me that we were also talking about this session since what, 10 days, 12 days. And thanks a lot. I was surprised to see the number of attendees, in fact. think you have done a great job. I thank the other speaker, Mr. Ashish Sathab.
Good evening, sir. This is Muhammad Manazir Hassan, Block Program Manager, Kurarma, sir. And I am very much thankful to you, sir, that you have given such a wonderful detailed information about the oxygen concentrator and the COVID-19 virus and the reverse effect. And especially thanks to everyone who has given such an information about how to use the concentrator and what the level of oxygen should be given to the people, because such information I haven't got earlier. So I am very much thankful to Mr. Markande sir, who has given an opportunity to join this meeting. And I hope in future I am looking for, sir, that battery backup will be attached with the oxygen concentrator, which can give us 2 or 3 hours backup also. Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks. So yeah, Dr. Sanjay, want to say?
Getting us on board, and TRIF, Transform Rural India Foundation, is very grateful to Agran and especially you, Colonel, for giving us an opportunity to be a part of this great session and a wonderful session. I was a bit apprehensive initially because recently in our state we had a very big webinar on this oxygen concentrator, how to use, what to use. So I was a bit apprehensive what would be the topic and what would be the speaker say. So during talk with Dr. Saab, I explained him that ye ho gaya hai. So we have to be different.
Oh, sure. I think many of the many of the I think audiences were more comfortable in their native language. I was hearing. So I don't know how to mix, because many people are from South India also, many are from different states. So I don't know how to speak in the native language, but probably
next will be the common language for everyone.
Yeah. So.
No, I think Dr. Sanjay, I think we've had a very fruitful session. I think I am sure we may not have been able to meet the requirement of everyone, but generally I would feel for major part of the audience, I'm sure they've been able to absorb whatever has been told, right? And so from my deepest corners of my heart, I'm very thankful to Dr. Ashish, Dr. Saif Khan, so for taking out their valuable time. Even with Dr. Ashish, it was just one call and I just offered him and he just pounced on that opportunity. I can now understand why he pounced upon that opportunity, because he's got so much of experience which he wants to share with us. And it was the same with Dr. Saif. There was no ifs and buts. Moment I spoke to him, moment Dr. Sanjay spoke to him, I think it was a vociferous yes for the session. I'm sure he would have had to maybe go out of his way, think something different, and maybe prepare and get this topic in front of the larger audience here. So I'm very, very thankful to both of you for making this session a very fruitful session. And the attendance here, it crossed 200, like what Dr. Sanjay was saying. It is a big boost to our morale to continue maybe bringing such topics, bringing such sessions, and we are boosted by this. And maybe like we do every month, we are carrying out a webinar. So I think, yeah, such topics, we need inputs from all of you who are here so that we can get those interesting topics. We can get such great speakers on board here and maybe bring them in front of you. We will definitely be sharing the recording of this on YouTube. We would be sharing the link of the YouTube with all of you, whoever has been here. And we would request everyone, whoever has not filled the feedback form, just to fill in, because that will help us maybe bring better content to you, right? So aim is only to get a better response from you. Aim is to maybe give more knowledge, provide more knowledge. And in the process, I'm sure we are also learning, and every day is a big learning experience out here, right? So thank you so much, Dr. Sanjay, for all your support. Thank you so much, Dr. Saif, Dr. Ashish, once again. Thank you everyone who has been here and been part of this session. We only have 9 responses on our feedback form. So I would request as many people can give me responses so that we can prepare for our next session better. Thanks a ton. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Sanjay.
Thanks a lot, Sadhbir, for the kind invitation and for giving this.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks a ton, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.